In 2021, Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta made a statement, and he said that the payroll of the government was full, and so people should start looking at entrepreneurship as a key in nation building. What he meant at the time was that the country was spending averagely 60% of its revenue in paying salaries of about 650,000 people that could have gone into something more profitable. If Ghana was a company, then we would say that the company was not very profitable. Now, the finance minister encouraged Ghanaians, particularly young people, to look beyond getting employed to creating jobs for themselves, in the process creating jobs for others. And tonight on Spotlight, we have somebody who is doing just that, maybe with a little touch of innovation. She calls herself a social entrepreneur, and she arguably leads or heads Ghana's leading social coffee enterprise, Kawa Moka. My name is Adwoa Tenkoramaa, and you're watching Spotlight on MX24 television. We'll be right back after this break, and I'll introduce my guest to you. So my guest on Spotlight tonight is Emi-Beth Aku Quantson. She is the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of Kawa Moka Coffee Company. Emi, good evening. Thank you so much for your time here on Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Adwoa. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. How long have you been doing this coffee business?
I've been in business since 2015, so that puts us at about 8 years.
Yeah. I understand you were first a tax consultant and an accountant at PwC. How did you get the idea of throwing that away and venturing into entrepreneurship, into literally unknown waters like coffee industry in Ghana?
Well, you said I was first a tax consultant, but I think I was first an entrepreneur because I started what I call the baby Kawa Moka when I was in Ashesi in my final year. So my final thesis was actually based on starting a coffee shop on campus. And the administration at the time, I approached them and said, hey, I have this idea. Can I start it? So they gave me that safe space to start a cafe in Ashesi. At the time, we were in Laboni. And if you know about Ashesi as well, there's quite a bit of emphasis on entrepreneurship, ethical leadership, and citizenship. So these all mean that, what is the change that you foresee? Rather than going to join the labor force, is there anything that you can do to make the world a better place from your perspective and from your experiences? So I think that education and that mindset shift is what made it easier to transition from a high-paying job with many opportunities ahead to start this venture, which at the time you never know whether you'll succeed or it'll be a failure. And of course, it's a pay cut, but it's a it's a labor of love.
Hi, coffee. And would you say that the environment you found yourself in growing up also motivated you to be able to be courageous enough to leave that job and venture into entrepreneurship?
My mom is a lawyer, but she's had a private practice for a very long time. So that in itself is a form of entrepreneurship. My dad is a scientist, but he also started a hotel. So I do have the entrepreneurial bug from my parents. And in terms of why coffee, I've always liked coffee shops as a place to connect. When I was people. So it's a random place where you can go in and meet somebody, have a random conversation and be inspired. For me, it was also a place that I studied when I was writing my chartered accounting exams. I used to go to coffee shops to learn. And it was a revolution that I'd seen happen in East Africa. So in East Africa, they're also a tea drinking community. But over time, they started drinking coffee and their own coffee because they also realized that there was a potential for their coffee. And over time, you've seen them become giants. It's been been the same in Southern Africa, and I believed that it was coming to West Africa. So I also saw the business opportunity, which at that time was dormant.
People say, and these may be critics you call them, but people say that for entrepreneurship to succeed, it has to take some form of support from your family, support from your inner circle people, support from maybe people who are mentoring you. How did that support come up for you, especially when you decided to leave PwC and venture into entrepreneurship fully?
Absolutely. I think mentorship is very key and it makes a big difference. Kawa Moka has a board. They have shared experience of over 100 years in various things, in finance, in marketing, in legal, in operations management. And that has made such a critical difference to our growth and our ability to even get different perspectives and avoid certain mistakes at an early stage. So mentorship is definitely very key. That support as well from family, from friends is very key. I remember when I started, I didn't really even tell people that I had a, cafe. But later, as I started sharing it, I was amazed by how my friends and my family would then tell somebody else, or they would buy. And sometimes it's even strangers who just believe in what you're doing, and then they encourage you, and then they buy, they share your story. They're very interested in making sure that you succeed. And it's really helpful because it really takes a village when you start a business and you're trying to grow it, especially in the changing business environments that we are currently operating in.
For somebody like you, somebody watching may think that, it comes easy to you because, your mom is a lawyer, your dad was an agronomist, they both started their side businesses, and so it was very easy. And for me, the talk about pushing people to entrepreneurship usually doesn't come with the reality of what being an entrepreneur means. What does it mean when you started this journey of really, really, really doing entrepreneurship in Ghana?
Yeah, I think the first bit was when I started the research. So doing a lot of, financial modeling, trying to figure out how it worked. And the first thing that hit me was rent in this country is very expensive. So you have to be innovative about where you set up. So our initial location was at Impact Hub Accra. So it was a co-working space and it was a quid pro quo. So they needed an accountant. I needed a space to start. So that was a way that we were able to cut those initial costs. But of course you have to think about it. And it involves going to different places and realizing that, those dollar-based rents may not be easy to start with as a startup. So that was the first thing. It wasn't easy, but we were able to use a bit of innovation and networking to find a solution. We also had some initial support from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. So we had a $5,000 investment, which we used to buy some equipment. But before we got that, we started with the coffee. So we had a really small machine that we had. And then we just got, bags of coffee here and there. And then our clientele started drinking. They would pay for it. And then you reinvest that money to make sure that your product is also improving. Then we realized we could also improve cash flow with a little bit of food to accompany our coffee. So we didn't even buy a big banner. It was something small, those abosokai tires, that's what we started with. And as people kept buying, and we focused on the product quality. So as people kept buying and enjoying it, and we started getting orders, we were able to then expand. So that's how we started. A lot of it was organic. A lot of it was really paying attention to our customers, because that's a very good way to raise funds. If people believe in you and they're buying and they can recommend, you'll find that your sales revenue will increase. So that's how. We went out, we knocked on doors, we gave samples, so that's how it started. And I think it was very exciting for many people. Their first interaction of drinking Ghana coffee was when we were at Impact Hub. So they were very excited that there was somebody who was drinking Ghana coffee. They didn't know that Ghana had coffee. And when we brewed it and they drank it, they were like, oh, okay, this is good. So then they would also, get packs and then take it with them to wherever they were coming from. So that was a validation for us as well, that the products that we were creating was something that people would buy and it was good. And for us, it would also do good. So it's not that the product was just good, but our ethos as well. You talked about us being a social enterprise, and we were always concerned about how can we create impact. And some of the ways we do that is by including women in the coffee value chain. So hiring young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people who've left senior high school looking to go into university. So we train them with the skill so that they can also earn income. And it's also to create awareness, especially for the youth, that there are so many jobs in coffee. Coffee is not a traditional area that you would think about when you're in school, but you can be a barista, you can do quality control, you can do roasting. There's so much that you can do that is not traditional, but that can become a paying career. So it's also that passion to create that awareness about coffee in Ghana.
I'll come back to the social enterprise bit of your journey, but you were earlier talking about the ease of doing business of sort in Ghana. You spoke about the rent.
Yes.
So talking about registering a company, how easy or difficult is it to get a full company operational in the country?
Yeah. Well, with my background, it was a bit easy. Being a tax consultant, one of the things that you do is with RGD and also with GRA. So it was relatively easy, I will say, to get the company registered. Of course, you have to pay for it, but they have different categories. So you could be a sole proprietor, or you can be a limited liability. We are a limited liability, but it was relatively easy. I got my registration really fast, and people are like, "Oh, did you pay money?" I'm like, "No, I just went there, I submitted it, and then within, I think, a week or something at that time, I had my registration, and I didn't pay anybody." So I believe that subsequently, especially with the changes in system, there was some backlog. But I'm sure that once that is, taken care of, the ease will continue. The idea of it, being able to get a rapid registration is there. So over time, I'm very sure that you'll be able to even get your business registration in a day.
Let's talk about the business climate and how it is currently and how people respond to your innovations, your product. How is the response on the market so far?
It's been very good. One of the things that first of all, it's made in Ghana coffee. So that in itself is like, oh my God, is there coffee in Ghana? And then they taste it and like, okay, this is good. And then it's fresh, it's well packaged. And then we also highlight the benefits of coffee. It's rich in antioxidants. It's good for energy boosting. It's a mood enhancer. It's good for also losing weight.
Not to catch you, but I actually read that coffee can help in dealing with depression. People.
Yes, it does. It does. It has a lot of health benefits that people do not know. It helps for intermittent fasting as well. It's very good. It helps you burn energy. It keeps you alert and smart.
So averagely, how many cups would you recommend people to take in a day?
Well, it depends on, individuals. It varies based on your body weight, your ability to cope with caffeine and all of that. But generally, anything from 1 to maybe 4 cups. 4 cups is on the high side, but generally 1 or 2 cups a day, depending also what you do. So it's hard to give a blanket number, but I would say 1 to 4 is decent. Yeah.
So people are responding well to your product.
Absolutely. And
I understand you're introducing new, is it flavors?
Yes. So we're very proud of being African and from West Africa, and there are some things that are unique to us that nobody else has. So we also wanted to highlight that, especially in emphasizing the health benefits that you can get from coffee and from various additives that are also unique to West Africa. So some of those are precursor. So we have precursor coffee. We infuse the coffee with precursor. Yes. It's very good first of all, it has a very sweet taste that people like. It smells good too. And it's good for high blood pressure. We also have Dawa infused. Dawa is good as an autoimmune system booster, which just means that it helps you fight diseases way better. And then ginger, as we know, is good for colds and coughs and the like. And we also have a moringa infused coffee. So that's kind of like your matcha. And matcha is like a health food. So it's a superfood. It helps boost your general operations of your organs. So we're very proud to have thought of, oh, let's infuse these and then provide a different drinking experience to our customers. It also changes the taste of the coffee a little bit. So you get to have, in a very good way, you get to have a taste of West Africa while you're drinking your coffee. So it makes us very different.
So for you, if I understand whatever you said so far, doing business is not really just about the money, but the impact and the social change that is coming out of it. And this change can be even in health.
Yes.
Because you're considering the health of the people who are going to drink your coffee.
Correct.
And all that. Going forward, where is Kawa Moka headed?
I'll put it in 3 parts. So the first part will be in relation to local consumption. I think there's the recognition that Ghana has coffee. And so I encourage Ghanaians to drink coffee from Ghana. It's a pride and joy. It's good enough. And let's learn to enjoy the things that we have. The second part I'll put into is the impact it has on the farmers. So previously, coffee was not seen as a sustainable livelihood for farmers, but now they are seeing an option where they can diversify their crops, where they can also have markets for their produce, and that comes because people are buying. So let's, look at how we can also support our farmers. And then finally, we'll look at the continent because we have AfCFTA and we have existing opportunities on the continent where you'll have Africans who are appreciating Ghana coffee. So we're also looking to be able to leverage on that to enter various markets on the African continent. So what does Kawa Moka look like? It looks like we'll have more interesting products for you. So you can look forward to some ready-to-drink options. We also continue to support our farmers. So we've planted over 10,000 coffee trees in the last couple of years as a way of encouraging farmers to go into coffee production. The seedlings are free, provided by Cocoa Board with the support of the government of Ghana.
So you liaise between Cocoa Board and the farmers
Yes.
to get the seedlings for them.
Exactly. And then we also encourage them on sustainable agricultural practices so that they can increase their yield. So we want to see them having the maximum benefits from their farms so that they can also see what the economic impact is. And of course, the more we sell, the more we can buy. So also on our part, making sure that we have more of a global footprint. We currently ship worldwide, and we particularly have footprints in the US markets, looking to enter the EU market as well with our organic certification and continuing to make an impact on our farmer network. We started with 6 farmers. We've grown that network to over 300 farmers with a carry-on indirect jobs and household impact on over 2,000 households. So yes, we buy their coffee. We provide support in planting. We do a lot of training. So we do, and we offer a premium as well for quality. So if they adopt the farming practices and that improves the coffee, we also offer a premium for that. And we work with cooperatives, so ensuring that the women are included in the cooperatives as well.
Has it always been this good? I mean, your entrepreneurial journey. Was there a point where you thought that, what am I doing? Do I have to put a pause on this and reassess my plans for the future?
Yeah, definitely. I have multiple scares every couple of months where it's like, no, this is too hard. I won't do it. I give up. I mean, it's everything from cash flows, managing payments. Whenever it's time for payments, it seems like you're making 1 million payments, but when the revenue is coming in, it trickles in. The other thing was just being able to meet international demand. So you get a lot of inquiries where people want container fulls, but then you have to put in so many things to be able to deliver on those orders. So sometimes it feels like, oh God, will you ever get there? And you can see your progress. I think in times like that, I try and look at where we've come from. Everything from not having a machine to getting a machine, not having a supplier base to getting a supplier base, so that you'll eventually get there. But it is a struggle. And we're grateful that we've survived this long. We've continued to innovate when so many businesses haven't made it. So we're grateful for that, and we hope we'll be around in the next decades to ensure that Kawa Moka becomes a household name and coffee from Ghana is recognized globally.
COVID-19.
Yes.
How did it impact your business? Because after COVID, I saw and heard a lot of businesses that had folded up because they could not simply stand the pressure.
Yeah.
And around that time, 2019, 2020-ish, 2021, Kawa Moka was still relatively young.
Yeah.
How did you survive?
It's so interesting you asked that, because we actually pivoted into our manufacturing in 2019. So we purchased our roaster in 2019. We're very excited. We're now going to be roasting Ghana coffee. We made our first supply to a supermarket December 2019. And, between January and March, we're looking for new people that will take our coffee. And then COVID hit and everything came to a standstill. So, we've made all these investments, cash flow is low. We're looking to boost revenues, and it's like, what are we going to do? So we hung in there. I mean, operations pretty much stopped during that period. But then something interesting started happening. People started running out of coffee, because a lot of people travel and then bring the coffee back in their suitcases. So now you're not traveling, So after the initial scare, coffee was finished. They're like, what alternatives can we have? And people started searching, and a lot of people discovered Kawa Moka. So that was a blessing in disguise. And we also were fortunate to have people who believed in us. So even during that period, we were able to stock our coffee at Made in Ghana Mart, which was also a first of its kind, selling only Ghanaian products. It's in Laboni, and they have a new branch in East Legon as well. So they also became a key outlet for us during COVID, because people were still, buying on limited basis and from places they trusted. So that also really helped us. And that recognition, or that, looking for an alternative because they can't travel, helped us to gain traction during that period.
So it was easy to bounce back?
I wouldn't say it was easy, but it helped. It helped that during that period we had an uptake of new customers. It also helped that we had healthy infusions, because especially during that period, people were looking to have things that helped their immune systems. So if you have coffee with that, I already like coffee. So it's like, okay, during COVID, let me try and see what else I can have. People were doing precursor, boiling precursor, winter, all of it. So it's like, now you have your favorite drink infused with healthy options as well. So that really worked well for us during COVID, and we've leveraged on that traction to keep growing.
What advice would you give to young businesses, say those that are between the first 5 years, to do when they are faced with challenges like COVID-19?
I think it's important to recognize what is happening and where your business is. So what can you offer during COVID-19? Is there a product that you are thinking about that maybe you can quickly innovate to supply the market? Do you perhaps need to partner? I remember at a point during COVID, we had one of our other Ghana coffee companies that was helping us roast, so that instead of us, doing a big batch on our roaster, we could do something smaller and the both of us supply the market. So are there opportunities for collaboration? Because you really need to collaborate in times of difficulty. So I'd definitely, and then resilience, right? Because you have to keep thinking and innovating. What am I missing? What can I supply? What is the cheapest way I can produce when I don't even know what tomorrow looks like? So it was a lot of cutting of expenses for us, just trying to reduce operational overhead. And then, like everybody, you're watching to see what is happening next. Will the borders open? And the other thing that happened from COVID is that supply chains were disrupted. So whereas people before may have bought coffee from certain regions or certain places, now shipping was not as accessible. So again, they were looking for alternative suppliers. So how well positioned are you to go in that gap? So maybe during the period of, we're all at home watching, what are the things that you can do so that when the market opens up or when the opportunities open up, you'll be there to be able to deliver on that.
You quit your job to start a business. but you can't be identified as one in like 100 examples. Would you advise somebody who is interested in entrepreneurship to just take that interest and take the risk and go out and start your own business?
I think we're all different. It's important to do that self-assessment and determine what you have. I mean, I'd worked for some time. I had some savings. I had a skill set that I knew I could fall back on, worst case. So those were some of the things I considered before I went into entrepreneurship. So I encourage people, don't just look at somebody and say, oh, somebody did this, so I'm going to do this. Your circumstance is different. Some people are taking care of so many of their family members. Especially in the beginning of entrepreneurship, you may not have capital to be spending. You may not have profits. Most businesses do not have profits in their first 5 years. So have you thought about how you're going to survive? And do you have that support system as well? If not, can you find that support system? So I wouldn't say don't measure yourself against somebody who's been around 10, 20 years, except that you are starting. I'd also encourage people to start with a prototype, something small. So don't necessarily quit your job if you have one. Don't necessarily spend so much money, even if you have access to money. Look at how you can simplify your product and spend as little money as possible trying something and seeing if people will buy, seeing if you have a market, see what changes you have to make. I remember one of the things we had was packaging, and we started with labels because we had a brand story and everything, but every time we would take it to the market, they'll come back and say, oh, we don't know how to brew, for example. Can you put the brew there? Or FDA will come and, change this, change that. So imagine if you bought a container full of packaging as soon as you started, and then you go and FDA says, change something. How do you adapt? So you start small, and then you're able to move faster. And then when you get to the point where you feel comfortable that this is the final version of the product the customer wants, this adheres to all the regulations, then you can scale it up. But sometimes we all want to start big, but what do you have around you that can help you start small and then grow fast?
So do you all your packaging here in Ghana?
Yes, so our packaging is a main component of our production that is imported. Everything else is from Ghana or has been made in Ghana. And even there, we're looking to see what local possibilities there are. Just a few weeks ago, I was at DTI, Design Technology Institute, and I was quite amazed by some of the innovations that they're coming up in terms of even construction of the roasters, things with metal. So there's a lot of innovation here that can be tapped into, and we try to source local as much as possible, and also to support female businesses. So some of our additives, like our moringa and precursor, we work with women, we collaborate with women a lot. And
why are you so interested in women empowering? Somebody asked, what about the men?
I think the men have had an advantage for a while. For many women, this is maybe their first time they've been to university. Maybe they're in a rural community. In our rural communities, you'll find that the girls or the young girls, they go to school, maybe senior high school if you're lucky. A lot of them drop out at JSS level, and then they get pregnant. And that becomes, their reality. So we're saying, can we give the women more options so that, they can have more income, they can contribute a bit more to the homes, and we just support them so that life is a bit easier. So that's part of our passion for including women. We just want women to also have some small money in our pockets.
How many women have you been able to empower since you started this journey? Can you put a number to it?
It's tough. I do a lot of mentorship. So one of the ones that I did was with Elevate Network. That was very memorable. We had a mentorship session with Mafi girls. And there were over 1,000 young girls in the audience, and they were asking questions. Pardon?
Where?
This is at Mafi Secondary School. It's on the way to Koforidua.
Okay.
Yeah, in the mountains. So They were asking a lot of questions about career, and it just reminds you how uncertain you are at that age. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know if you're going to pass your WASI. You really don't know where you're going to end up. So it's just to provide a door that there are many possibilities, and it becomes more about character, perseverance, being able to do a lot with a little, and then having people to mentor and look up to as well, who've maybe gone in the path that you want to go. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, you have an entrepreneur talking to you. Maybe you want to be a scientist, you want to be an innovator. So it helps to have that hand holding as well. So I've mentored quite a few and hired also quite a few and worked with quite a few also in terms of our farmer network. Yes.
So how many people have you employed currently?
Currently there are 12. I have a 12 core team. We also have 2 national service personnel at the moment, and we continue to grow. We're looking to establish a processing site in the Volta region, so we anticipate that will also create more jobs and more skilled jobs in the rural community. And our last passion is to involve the youth in agriculture.
Why do you say that's a last passion?
Like as a last note to our conversation. Okay. Because if you look at the statistics, the International Trade Center just came out with a baseline survey for the Ghana coffee industry. And over 70% of the persons involved in agriculture are men, and they're over the age of 50. So we're saying, how can we get the youth more involved in coffee? The minister recently in the budget reading talked about the allocation of, I think it was 20,000 acres, if I'm correct, in Ashanti region for the youth in agriculture. Right. So that's something that we're hopeful we can also work in the Volta region to have land allocated to the young people so that they can also be encouraged to farm and see agriculture as a viable path for career.
Before we go, we've spoken about the push that entrepreneurs can give themselves, but governmental policy-wise, what do you think that the state can do? Because we are asking more people to go into entrepreneurship, but what is the support available? I know there's Youth Start, there's the Youth Employment Agency who is also doing a bit of skills training and all that for the youth. But really, when people start, how should the environment be for them to ensure that sustainability we're looking for?
Yeah, I think one of the things that would help is some tax relief. And I believe there's a new Ghana startup bill that has been presented to Parliament for approval that talks about this conducive environment for entrepreneurship. So whether it's giving tax breaks, whether it's capacity building, whether it's having centralized business units that can then provide services at a reduced cost. These are some of the things that would really help. And there are a lot of, like you rightly mentioned, there are a lot of programs. I've benefited, for example, from the presidential pitch, where we pitched to the president and had some funding. And subsequently, the president also recognized Kawa Moka specifically for our growth and how much we had done in creating jobs in the rural community and also expanding. Yes, this was in 2019. That's correct. So there are opportunities. So I'd encourage the youth to look out for those opportunities because there's a lot of training that's going on. And the other thing is that then you develop a network of other entrepreneurs and you can share that burden. It doesn't feel so lonely because sometimes, especially when you're running your own business, you feel like, oh, nobody understands or I'm doing this all by myself. But when you have other people with shared problems and a shared path, it also helps. I get so much energy, especially from my female, friends who are entrepreneurs, especially those who've gone ahead of me and done so much more. When I see them, I'm so encouraged because I'm like, oh, okay, this could be me in 10 years or 15 years. If only I can stay and innovate. Yes, we're here to stay. We're here to stay and grow.
But let's pause because earlier today we visited the roastery and then we just want to, because we've been talking a lot about coffee, but really what is the process that this coffee goes through before it finally lands in your car for you to have that taste you're looking for? So come with me, let's do this tour of the roastery.
Hi, good morning. You are welcome.
Thank you. My name is Adwoa Tenkoramaa.
My name is George Gagbo.
Okay, so what do you do here? Are you the chief roaster?
I'm the chief roaster here.
Okay.
We receive raw coffee from Volta region, purposely from Lake Klebi.
Okay.
This is some of the coffee that we receive in the sacks. When it comes with the name of the farmer and then the weight.
Okay.
Then we take after receiving it, we weight it again and see whether what they brought to us is the same. After this, then you see there's foreign materials that are inside. Some are black, some are not out of the cherry.
So they are not all part of the coffee?
No, they are all coffee, but the black one is the one that did not ripe.
Okay.
When you see there is a difference between them. The white one is ripe well.
So you have to take the black one.
You have to take the black one, and then the one that machine could not hold.
Okay.
So this is the one. That is the one we are doing here.
Okay. So what is this process called?
We call it sorting. Okay. Sorting. Sometimes we pour it here, then we shake it. Then you can pick any foreign material that is inside. And that stone, stick, and then the black ones, so that I can get a good quality coffee to go.
Why do you have to take those ones out before you take it to the...
When it is added to it, made the quality doesn't go well.
Okay.
When you want a good quality that can taste well, you have to pick all that thing. Because the black one will make as if coffee is bitter, but coffee is not bitter.
Okay.
So when those one inside, you taste as if it's bitter.
But so, there's a dark coffee that is quite bitter. Is it?
It depends on the roasting.
Okay.
We roast in 3 different ways.
Okay.
We roast the medium roast, light roast, and then dark roast. Even the dark, when there is technical roasting, so that the bitterness you will not see.
So after you weigh the bag and you fetch it to the sorting place, you bring it back to weigh again?
Because we weigh with the foreign materials and those ones. So this is the real one we are going to roast.
Yeah.
So we have to wait and see whether we get the exact number. This one is above the 10, so fetch from it so that we can get exactly 10 kg.
Okay.
So from here.
So you need 10 kg to go into the machine?
Yeah.
Per roast?
Per roast. The machine takes 12 kg, but we don't want to fill the capacity for it. So we put this one. Then from here, we have to know whether the coffee is fully dried.
What do you mean by fully dry?
The moisture content of the coffee.
Okay.
So we have the moisture content machine.
Okay.
So we fetch, take the cup, we fetch 200 millimeters.
And how does this show you?
We have the measurement here.
Okay.
250 millimeters.
Okay.
So when you come here,
another weighing.
yeah, you weigh the wait, something's there. Yeah, this is the empty cup before you pour the coffee inside. So we get 177. Then we multiply it by 4.
Okay.
So let's say once I multiply that, I get 732 grams. That is the density of the coffee.
Okay.
Now we want to know the moisture content. This is the moisture content machine. Then we put it to the bin. Then you put the cover. Then you press it. Then it gives you 17.4%.
So you do this little by little until you are able to finish the entire, or this will determine the content in
This
the entire
will determine what we are going to put inside the machine.
Okay. So it doesn't mean that you have to do this over and over again.
Any bucket that you want to roll,
take it there.
You have to pass through here.
Wow.
The moisture content rose from 12 to 17%. Okay. So if it is above 17, that means still there is water inside. It doesn't dry well. So
how does the water get in?
That means the farmer doesn't dry it well.
Okay. So
Sometimes they need the weight because we buy by weight. So if they want weight, they can let it drive some medium weight, then they haul it.
So if you realize there's water in it, then what next?
We have to dry it ourselves.
Again.
Yeah, on sun drying before we roast. So it might be between 12% and 17%.
12.17%.
Yeah.
So it means you even need a little bit of maths to be able to do this.
Yeah.
What's your background? Or did you study maths in school?
At the secondary school level.
Okay.
That's all.
And did you continue to university?
No.
Okay.
I did the technical course.
Okay. Technical course at where?
At Harvard Technical.
Okay, in the water region.
Yep.
Which year did you graduate?
1998.
Okay, so afterwards you just started
After the
working?
Yep.
Okay, and coffee has been your first job?
No, my first job was I was distributing cement for Gasem
Okay.
for a few 6 years. That was who in the Volta region.
Right.
Then I left there, come to Tema.
Right.
Tema, I go work for 5 years with Alchemy Alternative Energy.
Okay.
We use rubber and black work to distill and get raw diesel. From there, the company collapsed. Then I met the white man who was roasting the coffee. And he trained me in roasting.
Wow.
When he was sick and take to home and then die, the wife met Madam Emi. And then Madam Emi, the woman introduced me to Madam Emi.
So how long have you been doing this roasting job?
For Kawa Moka is 4 years now.
Okay, but in other places?
In other place, another 3 years. So making it 7 years.
years.
Yeah. When we finish roasting, you bring it down here. Here you see, these are that's the second one. These are the roasted ones.
Why are the colors different? This one is quite lighter than this one.
Yeah, beginning I told you have roasted 3 types.
Okay.
This is light roast.
Okay. Oh, it smells good.
Yeah. And then from light you come to medium roast.
Okay.
Then from there you come to dark.
Okay. So this is dark
Yeah.
roast.
Yeah.
This is medium
Medium
roast.
roast. And then this is light roast.
Are there people who prefer the
Yeah.
3 different?
Everybody, the one that you prefer, that we give to
Okay.
them.
But when you put the products on the market, do you mix them up, or a specific shop will demand that give me dark, just only
Yeah.
dark coffee?
Some specific company demand dark.
Okay.
They demand dark roast. Sometimes whole bean, you should not grind. You come and take it.
What goes into getting this one dark, getting this one medium, and getting this one very light?
All depend on the roasting process.
Okay.
The dark will take almost 60 minutes to roast finish to make it dark.
Okay.
Medium will take like 13 to 13.30 seconds.
Okay.
And then the light will be like 11 to 12 minutes.
So the lesser the minute, the lighter
Yeah.
coffee.
Yep. The
So
lesser
after
the-
here, where do we go?
After here, we take the roaster come here. The grinding, roasting coffee here. This is where we grind and package.
Okay. Do you always grind all the roasted coffee?
No,
Okay.
it depends on the order that we have. Then we grind that one and then the rest we keep it for later time.
Okay. So there are some people who take the beans.
Some people want the beans raw like for themselves.
Okay.
And in some company too, they want the beans,
roasted
the
one.
roasted beans, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how, when you grind it, then what next? You package.
Yeah,
It.
these are our packages. It's our package that we use.
Did you make these yourselves as well, or these ones
No.
are imported?
These one are imported.
Okay.
Because some are Ghana made, these are the brown paper one.
Okay.
This from Ghana here.
Okay.
And then the other one was imported. And then from here, I'll try some for you. Then you put some into the machine.
So you package it right under the grinder.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not that you finish
No,
grinding
no, no, no,
everything,
no.
then you fetch them into
No,
the...
no. You take the thing, you put it straight under it. The flavor in coffee, you don't want to come out. If you grind it down like 10 minutes, the flavor is out. You cannot get the real flavor. So you normally want it to be so from here. Just press it. Allow it to sit. Because of the pan, you do not see inside. This is our sealing machine. I did not block it down.
This looks like a lot of processes. And you do this every day?
Yeah, so close it here. That's all.
So that's how we get our coffee?
Yes. Raw, nothing added.
Which of them is your favorite? Is it the dark, the medium, or the light?
I like the dark.
Why? There's this assumption that men really like the dark coffee. Is it because it comes with some sort of different flavor?
Yeah, different. And to me personally, if I take dark, give me strength. I can stand working the whole day. I will not be tired.
Hey.
Yeah. When I'm tired and I take one sip of black, then the pressure comes down.
I see. We all have to start taking dark coffee then.
Is it bitter?
Good. It's not bitter. No, so which ones have I been drinking? Thank you so much.
Yeah, so welcome. You are most welcome. You are welcome.
George
Gago. Yeah.
It's a pleasure having this conversation.
Thank you very much.
So that is George Gabo. He is a chief roaster here at Kawa Moka. And this is a process the coffee you buy from outside goes through before you're able to drink it. One of the ways of ensuring social change is to give employment to people who otherwise would not have had the opportunity to work. I'm here at the roastery of Kawa Moka, and I want to speak to Harriet Ode. She's one of the employees of this particular facility. Harriet tells me she graduated from senior high school. Right after she got this job through a recommendation from someone. Harriet, Obekatri, school time then?
2021.
2021. Well, first of all, where do you feel saying?
21.
21 years. Into school, no. One hour pairs of baby Juma has say, and as a send a buyer will see
Real school, no, my brand a page, my man. But the start here, I'm a house help pushy, and I'm brand pair has seen. Then my grandma's son, I'm bad.
Why you Juma way best in facing
1 year.
Okay. Juma no say, would the bay way and say, we a house help, can you and Pusha Okay, so we are there and Kasawa has say, what do you do here?
I'm here sorter, Benedicta.
Okay. So without this job, Anka then Anka Ube, you just be in the house helping people getting paid. How first of all, how much were you being paid when you were doing the house help job? Maybe tell Kasay.
300.
With 300 and I have seen
400.
Okay, into we auto to say oh mommy and money.
My mom and papa, mammy, and your penny.
Do you have to take care of home at some point?
Yeah, sometimes. I have to send money to my sisters and brothers in school.
Now one casano, we see no day Juma Potina now we are now
There be. A Juma person in future nurse.
Okay. Okay. Then my mom pursues
I'm when you me school and I'm money free. Just for 5 into some papa na shaying and I'm saying me buy the page ma. Yes, well, no that was.
So that's a brief tour of the Kawa Moka roastery, and for me my highlight is the impact that this job is creating, not just for its employees but for its customers as well. You're doing quite a good job.
Thank you.
For a business that is less than 10 years old.
Correct.
So before finally, which brand of coffee or type of coffee do you major in? Is the Robusta or the Arabica?
Yeah, it's Robusta. It's 100% Robusta. We've been very passionate about educating people on Robusta, how to brew, how to process, and how to recognize it as the gem it is. So we pride ourselves as being Ghana's largest specialty roaster, roasting specialty Robusta, which is high quality Robusta for our customers.
It's been a great time with you, but what will be your last words to your viewers, people who are watching you, who are getting inspired by what you do?
I would say, 1, buy Made in Ghana coffee, buy Kawa Moka. You can find us in various locations. We're nationwide in supermarkets and in an outlet near you, so find us. And I would say to the young entrepreneurs out there, start, because you never know where your journey will take you. I didn't know that I'll be sitting here. I would be producing coffee. I would have a sustainable business that hires people and works with such a large group of farmers. So if you have something you believe in and want to try, please start. You could be the change that Ghana is looking for.
And what's a better way to end this conversation than on that? Start, because you never know where your journey will take you. This has been Spotlight on MX24 Television. Thank you so much for spending the past hour with us. We'll come back next week with another interesting conversation. Have a great evening. My name is Adwoa Tenkoramaa. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye-bye.